So a couple of days ago, I made a video talking about the new dark age of Disney, in terms of box office success at the very least. And over the course of the video, I made reference to the fact that Disney and sci-fi are combinations that rarely mix well. In my memory, they've made a number of sci-fi films since I was a kid, and almost always they crash and burn. Treasure Planet, Meet the Robinsons, Strange World, not exactly setting the world on fire with their box office gross. Yeah, objectively, those films did not do well. Big Hero 6 did, credit where it's due, but not really those others. But I think a lot of people took me talking about them as failures to be some sort of hate attack on the films themselves, but that's not the case. I really like a lot of them. Almost all of them. Loved Treasure Planet. That was my film as a kid. Very fond memories of seeing that in cinemas with my dad. I don't care what people say. It's an absolute masterpiece. Absolute banger of a film. And the song montage where he develops a father-son bond with John Silver, tearjerker, truly heartwarming. Plus the animation was top tier for the time and really did something different with traditional style animation. Yeah, I mean, it really massively inflated the budget due to the different technology they had to develop custom for the film, and on top of that it bombed at the box office, but it was still good. Guess the world just wasn't ready for Jim Hawkins and his space pirates. For shame. But hey, I'm pretty sure I've made a video in the past talking about how great it was, so I'm not going to waste any time on it.
But I ain't spending any time on it because in the meantime, every 3 months, a person is torn to pieces by a crocodile in North Queensland.
But there's one film that I was accused of slandering just a little bit in those comments. And I've not actually made a video discussing it before, I don't think, and that film is Meet the Robinsons. That's clear enough from the thumbnail and title, right? Okay, so before we go any further, we need to make one thing perfectly clear. Meet the Robinsons was a failure. There's no doubt about this. Okay, on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 67% critical score, a 74% audience score. Those are good scores. It shows that people and critics enjoyed the movie for the most part. Not the greatest movie of all time, but they enjoyed it. I too enjoyed the movie. But that's not what I meant when I said it was a failure. A movie can still be good and fail. Because let's be honest, it was a massive flop at the box office. Not a Treasure Planet level flop, but it was still very bad. It had a budget of $150 million, and it grossed a grand total of $169 million. That's a number that's not setting the world on fire. And when you factor in things like advertising costs, things that never usually get added to the official budget, it's almost certain the film did not break even, and did not make any money for Disney. And we're talking about a business, a company. Yes, they want Oscars, yes, they want acclaim, yes, they want you to enjoy it, but the bottom line is the money. The thing that matters most is that the films need to be profitable. If you're always losing money on every single movie, why would investors trust you? And thus, I'd very much argue that Meet the Robinsons was overall not a success because it came off the back of a string of other financial failures. I think that's a very fair statement to make. But like I said, it doesn't mean I dislike the movie. And in fact, I like it a lot. And so that's really what the rest of this video is going to be about. Talking about how this movie is just very good. And how in my eyes, it did deserve better than it got. Okay, so Meet the Robinsons follows the story of Lewis, a 12-year-old boy living in an orphanage who dreams of having a family of his own, of having parents, of being able to find his birth mother. And so he builds a scanner which can scan his baby memories to discover what she looks like and help him locate her. And in the process, he keeps his roommate Goob up all night, which sets in motion a chain of events that results in his future son coming back in time to get his help recovering a time machine that his future self had built, and which had in turn been stolen by future Goob and yet another of future Lewis, or Cornelius, another of his future inventions. A robotic bowler hat named Doris, who was built to be a butler type of thing, but was actually an evil mastermind. And over the course of his adventures, Lewis meets his future parents, his future wife, bonds with his future son and becomes his best friend and confidant, and ends up managing to defeat Doris and reform the adult Goob, as well as preventing that ever happening to him in his own timeline by waking him up just in time for the winning catch of the Little League Championship. And just recounting all of that storyline makes me nostalgic. Good times. Okay, so the visuals. This was right towards the start of Disney's major pivot towards primarily making three-dimensional computer animations. And I think, with that in mind, it looks really good. Like, obviously the quality has come a long way since these days, but I think it still holds up under scrutiny. It's not like some old school computer animation, which looks like it was made on a potato.
Ugh, it's hideous!
It's clearly not of the standard of today, and yet it remains very, very watchable. Almost timeless in a way. Specifically, I want to bring up the really top tier character design. The design choices. That's got to be one of the best parts of the movie. There's so many different and interesting and eye-catching designs of all the different characters, with a lot of them being really out there. And these designs play into their personality and just make the visuals all come together really well. Specifically, both versions of Goob. Just glorious. Especially old Goob. And yeah, this brings us to Goob and Doris. This is the best major villain fake out in Disney history for me. The best twist villain ever, because it plays out so well. You meet Bowler Hat Man and Doris the Bowler Hat, and it seems like he's in charge and she's just his toy, his sidekick. But yeah, he seems like the main villain, but the more you learn, the more suspicious it starts to get, and it culminates with the old switcheroo, where Goob realizes that Doris has played him for a fool. And it was about more than just revenge on Lewis, but simply world domination. I loved how that played out. And on top of that, the narrative was well paced, and you don't sit around waiting for something to happen and getting a bunch of filler. This bad boy only runs for an hour and a half, and it uses that time well. In terms of its tone, I always loved that this film just embraced absurdity. The fact that Lewis and his family just all inexplicably have the wackiest hairdos of all time. The fact that Goob was simply left alone in the orphanage because nobody liked him due to his obsession with his failed Little League Baseball journey. There's the T-Rex that wears a bowler hat. There's the fact that Lewis's adopted father for some reason just wears his clothes backwards and even goes so far as to paint a face on the back of his head. And there's no reason for him to do that other than he's a bit of a weirdo. And it just works so well. I don't know what it is, but when you watch a show or a movie or play a video game that's set in the future or about the future, I feel like the expectation is the creators have to go all out to make the world seem outlandish and strange. And whilst this is not the wildest I've ever seen, it still creates that feel. And I think it helps you feel the same things that Lewis feels when he goes to the future. That wow factor, that awe, that shock. And that really helps to tie the whole thing together. In terms of music, nothing to write home about, let's be honest. Truly don't remember it having a top tier soundtrack or anything like that, and it certainly doesn't get brought up at all as a film with a top tier soundtrack, so I guess it isn't. And then to top it all off, the film is so ridiculously funny. Like seriously, truly funny. Hilarious jokes, lots of sarcasm and banter, it has it all. And I gotta say, the Goob reveal scene in the old orphanage with all the flashbacks in the bedroom, that's one of the funniest scenes in the whole film and in Disney history. It is rare that a Disney film is gonna get me to belly laugh to the point of tears, but when I haven't seen that in a while, it does its job. And so yeah, Meet the Robinsons, a damn good film. I hope I've convinced you that I actually like it and I'm not a blind hater. To say it was a success would be a lie. And I honestly think there are few films that Disney sweeps under the rug quite so hard as this one. So clearly, they don't remember it fondly either. And they do not view it as a good example of their work and their legacy. But I still think it's really fun. It's a good movie. Poor Meet the Robinsons. And so yeah, with all that being said, these have just been my opinions and I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of Meet the Robinsons? Do you like it, hate it? Do you think it was a failure? Maybe you disagree with me. I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.